Alright guys, so today we're going to be profiling everyone's favorite hated deck besides Zodiac. Of course, I'm talking about Psy-Frames.
YugiNoNo.
So yeah guys, I like to play this deck every now and then. It's kind of fun, you know, playing synchros is just really fun in my opinion, because no one really plays synchros a whole lot anymore, unless of course you're playing, you know, some sort of pendulum deck, and you can maximize, you know, the use of your pendulums, because, you know, when you synchro summon using a pendulum monster, the pendulum monster goes to the extra deck and you just pendulum summon it back out. So that is really good, you know, in pendulums. But this deck doesn't really do that. This deck plays a whole lot of negates, and that's actually really why you don't have to work on the side deck really all that much. I'll show you guys that later. But you don't really need to work on the side deck that much, like put a whole lot of thought into it, because your main deck does a lot of the work for you. I would say this deck's weakness is when you don't get the field spell, so that makes me want to add, you know, terraformings to the deck, but I just couldn't find room for terraformings. But your pot of dualities and your card Ds and stuff really help you get to your field spell. And I do play a foolish goods, you know, so you can you know, hit the trap and get the trap in the graveyard, banish the trap, and get a search for any Psy-Frame. So yeah, that's me briefly going over the deck, but let's go ahead and get into the deck profile now. Alright, so you start with the best Psy-Frames, of course. You play the 3 Gamma, which is the effects negator. All the Psy-Frames really do the same thing, basically. Like, they negate what they say that they're gonna negate, and then they summon themselves from hand, and then a driver from the deck, or your hand, or graveyard. This one, of course, does monster effects, like I said, and then Beta does, this one negates a direct attack, or any attack, yeah, direct attack, summons itself, and then a driver. This combos really well with Drowning Mirror Force. This deck plays Drowning Mirror Force better than, like, any other deck, in my opinion, like any other deck. This deck takes full advantage of Drowning Mirror Force, which is broken. So Gamma might be the best. Beta's, meh, it's pretty good, but I think Delta's the best. I think Delta is the best one in my opinion, because stopping a spell is just, it's like so good. It's so good. And then next what you do is you play a baseball, okay? So it's really awkward in the deck, but, I mean, it's like literally physically awkward in the deck, of course. But what you do is you top deck this and you just throw it as hard as you can at your opponent. And usually after that, they have a concussion and you win. So that is why I play that card. But then you play Psy-Frame Gear Alpha. So Alpha, what it does is when your opponent, you know, normal or special summons, is it normal or special summon? Yeah, normal or special summon. This, you know, special summons itself from the hand to your side of the field, just like all the rest of them, and then gives you a search for a Psy-Frame card. So this searches the trap, it searches the spell, it searches like any of your other guys. Yeah, so this is really good. I mean, you just kind of have to play it. I would say that this is... I would say this and Beta are the worst, but that's just my opinion. You guys' opinions are going to vary. But I play 3-Threader because Threader protects your Psy-Frames, making sure that they get banished so you can get that Psychic Field Zone off, because Psychic Field Zone is all about that electric feel. Oh, girl! But, yeah, then we have 2 Psy-Frame Driver, because you summon this from the deck. If you want to be really edgy, like, even if you want to be like a total edgelord, like play one of this. I like, which I tried to do. Like, you have to play 2. Like, I mean, if you hard draw this, it sucks. So you have to have like a second one in deck. So yeah, you can't get this from deck. You can only get this from deck, you know, off of these guys. This is a hand trap, and you can summon it from hand. You really want this in the graveyard. You want to use its hand trap effect, and then just keep like using it from the graveyard. Plus the special summons itself from the graveyard, so that also enables some plays. So yeah, guys, that is all 17 of your Psy-Frame monsters, and then you play a 3-card D, because this is your +1. It lets you draw. It's really good. And then I play Maxi, because I mean, this is literally hand trap deck. So you'd have to be stupid not to play the best hand trap in the game. So yeah, 1 copy of Maxi, and that is all the monsters. That is 21 monsters. And then to the spells, you play 3 Circuit, because without this card you can't really win. This lets you synchro summon on your opponent's turn with your Psy-Frames, which is really good, because, you know, you can Black Rose on your opponent's turn, and you can like Zeta and Zeta on your opponent's turn, or Omega. Like, this card is just like, this is what makes the deck good, you know. So you have to play it. Plus, you know, this lets you beat over crap, like, you know, like Masterpiece and everything, because this boosts up a Psy-Frame monsters effect. You know, like, you can pitch a driver from hand, boost up your Psy-Frame monsters, not effect, but Psy-Frame monsters attack, sorry. Boost up your Psy-Frame monsters attack and beat over anything, just anything and everything. This lets you beat over stuff, so that is really good. And then you play 3 Pot of Duality. So this lets you, you know, combo with card D, because you get to, you know, draw cards, and you get to, you know, see cards, and then pick out what you want. Like, you want to get the circuit, obviously. And then I play 3 Fuel Zone, which works really, really good with the multi-threader, because the multi-threader helps everything make sure that it gets banished. And Fuel Zone is like a parallel world fusion, but for synchros. Like, think of it that way. Like, just read Psychic Fuel Zone. It's like probably one of the best spells in the deck. And then 1 Psychic Path. Psychic Path is it's alright. Like, it's really good. Psychic Path, I find, is only really good when you don't have this. Like, if you have to end up like banishing your drivers and stuff, like, that's what makes this card good. If you don't end up synchro summoning with your drivers and you end up banishing them and you don't have the Fuel Zone, that's when Path comes in. that's what I've learned by playing the deck. But I don't play the deck, you know, all that often. I just kind of mess around with it every now and then. But then I play the Foolish Burial of Goods. I keep going back and forth between this and Soul Charge, because Soul Charge helps you get out Crystal Wing more consistently in the deck. But getting the trap in the graveyard and then banishing the trap for a search for anything is not bad. It's not bad at all. And the last card I play, the last spell card I play is Upstart Goblin. So that was 13 spells, you guys. And then for the traps, you play 3 Psy-Frame Overload, which is broken. This card really can put your opponent in a bind, because you get to banish their stuff face down and there's not shit they can do about it, really. It's so good. And they don't want to hit it because you just banish it, get a search. It doesn't search for another copy of itself, sadly, but it does get you a search. This card is really good. And then I play 1 Skill Drain, because, I mean, you're already a punk for playing this deck, but you might as well be a dick too. Like, that's just how I see it. But yeah, you could cut this for Soul Charge, like I was saying a minute ago. It's not that bad. But yeah, you could play Skill Drain in this deck with ease, because everything activates in your hand, or, you know. So yeah, Skill Drain is it's just really, really good. And then for the last traps, I am proxying 3 Drowning Mirror Forces, because I sold mine forever ago and I need to get more, but I really don't mess with this deck that often. And when I do, I play, you know, pretty casually with the deck. So yeah, I just proxy, you know, what I need. But like I said earlier, this deck uses Drowning Mirror Force, you know, better than any other deck in Yu-Gi-Oh! By far, by far. Alright, so let's go through the extra deck real quick. You play 1 Crystal Wing, and you make Crystal Wing with the Ancient Fairy Dragon by using Ancient Fairy Dragon's effect to summon a tuner from your hand. Well, Ancient Fairy Dragon doesn't say special summon a tuner from your hand. It says special summon a level 4 or lower monster, and all your level 4 or lower monsters, of course, are tuners. So yeah, Crystal Wing is always a good card. Then you play Black Rose Dragon, also always a good card. This is your entire board wipe. And then you play a Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. Clear Wing, I mean, it's pretty good. It can be pretty good. Same thing with Moonlight Dragon. It's kind of okay. You barely ever make these. You barely ever make Life Transfer either. You just gain life off of her. And then you barely ever make this guy either, Thought Ruler Archfiend. Then this guy you make sometimes. This is Stardust Spark Dragon. You know, it saves any card on the field. It can't be you know, destroyed by card effects. Scarlet Dragon Archfiend I've gone to you know, a few times to, you know, get over boards and stuff. And then you play Overmind Archfiend. Overmind Archfiend you make with Psychic Field Zone. So that's like the only way you make it, but it is really cool. It's really necessary to play, you know, the Psychics, you know, for Field Zone. And this guy's got 3,300 attack and 3,000 defense, so he is really, really good. And Psychic Field Zone summons in defense, and him having 3,000 defense is great. And actually, this is one of my favorite ultimate rares of all time. Fun fact. And then you play 3 Zeta. This is what you're really looking for. You go into your Psy-Frame synchros the most by far, because, you know, they dodge, they keep your field open, and they, you know, dodge effects and stuff, and they're just really, really good. And Zeta is actually a generic, so you can play this in a lot of other decks. So it's just like you know, Omega. And speaking of Omega, I'm having to proxy my Omegas. Omega is probably the best card in the extra deck, though. I would say Omega is the best, Zeta's the second best, Crystal Wing's the third best. I mean, it would be better if you could make it more often. I go into Black Rose a lot, and I go into Spark sometimes. I go into Red Dragon Archfiend, but I barely ever go into Thought Ruler or, you know, Life Transfer, or, you know, Black Rose, Moonlight. You just kind of the rest are kind of situational, but your Zetas and your Omegas are always live. But you side 3 Epsilon, and why this card is still relevant is because of D-Barrier, because if they call Synchro, that really sucks. So yeah, that in my opinion, that makes this card, you know, like pretty relevant. Otherwise, you don't really need to side it that bad. Like, but you know, this is a Psy-Frame, so it's never bad to side because it is a Psy-Frame, so it, like, you know, flows with the whole rest of the deck, obviously. But then everyone's playing Pure Zoo. Everyone and their dog is playing Pure Zoo, and as if you weren't playing enough hand traps, just side Flying Sea to be a cock. I mean, you side Flying Cock to be a cock. But yeah, Flying Sea is just Flying Sea. It's a good card. And then I'm playing Kaijus. I actually really like Kaijus in this deck, and people have asked me, like, you know, why do you play Kaijus in this deck? And I'm like, well, you know, you play good, so you can, you know, snipe out, you know, Slumber Slumber. Slumber is, you know, a dark hole. It's really good against, you know, a lot of things. Plus, you could dodge your own Slumber because, you know, Zeta, for example, and, you know, Omega, you know, they kind of, you know, they bounce on and off the field, so they kind of dodge the Slumber for you. But mostly what it's for, besides like Zoo, is like, so you give, like, let's just say you have a monster already, like an Omega out. Like, why the kaijus are really good is because if you have two kaijus in hand, you can, like, you know, kaiju them, and then your opponent has a kaiju and now you don't, and then you can summon a kaiju. So that gives you like double damage versus, you know, your normal, you know, 1 to 2 synchro monsters that you usually have. Usually just one, honestly, in this deck. So in that aspect, I like kaijus a lot, and in testing, like, it worked out for me really, really well. So yeah, this is just the best lineup, in my opinion, for the monsters and spells. Well, besides, you know, Twin Twisters, because this gets rid of like solemn strikes and stuff, because strike kills this deck. It kills all your hand traps, kills everything, so you have to be able to like get rid of them somehow. Like, being able to play Twin Twisters, kill strike before it can even activate is really good, because I mean, strike's a spell speed 3, like, you can't even stop it with this thing. It sucks a lot. So you have to play something to kill the strikes. And then I'm playing Anti-Spell Fragrance to be a dick because you're already playing like a dick deck, so you might as well play Anti-Spell Fragrance. Plus, I'm always looking for an excuse to play this card, because these are my, you know, Parallel Secret Game Boy rarity Anti-Spell Fragrances, so I'm always looking for an excuse to play these, because it's one of my favorite cards that I own. Maybe that's another video I can do, is, you know, favorite Yu-Gi-Oh cards out of my collection that I own, but this is definitely one of them. Might be my favorite. But yeah, so I'm always using, like, you know, using this deck as an excuse to play this crap. But anyways, so yeah, this is getting against Pendulums, obviously. You know, I've sided against Pendulums before just to be a dick. But what's really crazy is it slows down just a lot of decks. Like, it just slows down everything. Anything that plays spells, like, it just slows them down to a crawl. And you just kind of take advantage of that. You really do. And so that's why I'm playing Anti-Spell Fragrance. You guys' side deck choices may vary. I would say I'm the least happy with Flying Sea, but it's like, what else do you play? I mean, I guess you can play like Crows or like Ghost Ogres or something, but to each their own. I mean, Flying Sea makes me the most unhappy, but everyone's playing Pure Zoo, everybody, so you kind of have to play it. But yeah, that's the whole side deck, guys. I would love to hear, like, you know, if you guys are still playing Psy-Frames, down in the comments section. That'd be really, really cool, because, you know, I'm always open to suggestions, obviously. I mean, you guys may, you know, play a Telekinetic Powerwell, for example, which is a card that I found that can help you make, you know, Crystal Wing, you know, once again, more consistently, along with Soul Charge. But Telekinetic Powerwell, yeah, that's what it's called, Telekinetic Powerwell. It only gets the little guys. It doesn't get the big guys. I mean, it's kind of like a half-ass Soul Charge for Psychics is what it is. So that's why I don't really play it anymore. And every time I play it, I want to play like a Curry Bandit with it, you know. And the Curry Bandit is not that good in the deck. I used to tech in one, but it's like when it's good, and when it's bad. So I just took Curry Bandit out, like, you know, made the deck, you know, less chancy, if you will, less chancy. Damn Pokemon. But yeah, I made the deck less chancy and like more, you know, a little more practical. And yeah, so this deck is really, really fun. Once again, this is handtrap.deck. That's exactly what this is. So if you like hand traps for whatever reason and you're just obsessed with hand traps, this is the deck you need to be playing, because that is all it is hand traps. But yeah, guys, once again, I am open to suggestions. Go ahead and let me know what you guys are playing down in the comment section. And as always, be sure to dick slap that like button and subscribe.